This podcast provides a platform that will share many different points of views that should empower you, uplift you, make you want to go out and do right. When you hear the term still a man, say, yes, I am. Still a man. Yes, I am. Still a man. Yes, I am. Let's go.
What's up, people? It's Tuesday night. Welcome to another episode of the Still a Man podcast. Tonight, we are going to discuss the dangers of Halloween treats. Now, as I said to my panel before here, we are referring to when people tamper with the kids' Halloween treats and when children mistakenly eat and share recreational drugs with their friends and other children, thinking that they're candy. So, with Halloween being 13 days away, I figured that we would discuss this. And mind you, this topic is something that Tanya wanted to talk about, is near and dear to her. And it should be to anybody that has children and young children or no young children that are going to be out there trick-or-treating. And even before the actual day comes up, because, you know, there's a lot of candy being purchased in the store and it's just lying around. And unfortunately, people that have recreational drug use, they're rather irresponsible. So you got people that fail to lock up their drugs, not only street drugs, but over-the-counter drugs, medication and stuff. When we was growing up, you knew not to touch certain things, but before you was of an age where you had the wherewithal and the knowledge of what was good for you, what was bad for you, right and wrong, and you learned to fear the wrath of your parents if you did something that they told you not to do. Things was locked up, out of sight, out of mind. When you was a baby, they had like locks on the cabinets and cupboards, so you couldn't pull them open. So I think that, so with parents, and let me be clear about this, guys, I'm not co-signing, I'm not saying that I agree or condone with recreational drug use, to each his own. That's not something that I do. I'm for the kids, I'm thinking about the youth, so I'm trying to preserve their future, and this is why I'm saying things like this. We, us gun owners, we have like lock boxes for our guns. So perhaps we should implement something like that when it comes to our drugs, recreational and prescribed drugs. Perhaps we should have them in a lockbox so these children can't get hold of them. Let's go ahead and start this up. Now let's go back in the days. Now, when we was growing up, the dangers of Halloween treats. Our biggest fear was somebody tampered with the candy, did something to it, and now you was gonna get sick, or you may have bit into a razor or a needle or sorts. Let's go, Timmy. You're ready. Go on and speak on that.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's what they was doing back then. You know, those were sick people that were, and it's sad because if you went to certain areas, you was getting candy. You watch these people pour candy, open up candy bags and give you candy out this. It's only in your black neighborhoods where they try to harm your damn kids. It's just sad that it's not all of them. It's just some people who are evil that wants to harm kids, period. That's just it. You know, but the ones who really look out for the kids, you see a lot of, you know, the older people that looks out for the kids. That's what the grandmothers always have done. Always have done for their grandkids and stuff like that. And the kids in the neighborhood, they always gave candy. So you knew you got candy from an older lady that she wasn't tampering with her candy. She's for the kids.
You
She
don't know
was,
that.
you know, yeah. All the candy that we got from elderly people, it wasn't nothing wrong with it. They didn't go touching, messing with it.
You got half sucked on mints.
Wow.
Sucked on the mint and put it back in the
right
wrapper.
there.
That's what you got, T. Like, why is this candy not got no stripes on it?
Nah.
Uncle done
See,
ate your shit and put it back in the
if you
bag
know
too.
that candy's unwrapped, you know you not to eat it. You already know not to eat it. It's unwrapped. It's no good.
Exactly.
Listen, we got cheap garbage candy back then, like sour balls and mints and stupid candy. Though this is a new whole game.
Yeah.
All right. So let me, Josie, I want to make sure you get a part of this conversation. We haven't heard much from you in the past week, so I want to pull you right into the conversation from the beginning. What are your fears about Halloween treats for the younger children? And did you have some of the same fears when your son was younger and with your grandchildren when you partook in trick-or-treating?
Well, when I was younger, we used to have parties all the time, so wasn't that much trick or treating. But when my son and them was younger, we used to take them trick or treating, and I think you should always, I guess, at the beginning, I don't think there was everyone checking their children's candy and all of that other good stuff, but when it started being known to everyone that that was what was happening, I think that it should have been in everyone's best interest to check your children's candy. So I know I was. And, some trick-or-treating we did was at family members' houses. So it wasn't too concerned there. And I always believe that if you go in certain neighborhoods, but then even then you can't be too sure. But trick and treating has always been tricky, Maybe that's why they call it trick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called trick or treat.
Right. So, and you do, yes, David. There was some times when you would get your trick in there instead of the treat. So, but I don't think that slipping poison or razor blades or whatever else they slipping it, pills, whatever else they slipping into these kids' candy is taking the fun out of it. I mean, I can see if you put a Easter egg in there and put a rotten egg in there or something like that, then that's a joke, but I just don't see it being a joke when you're messing with someone's health or someone's life, and especially
cruelty.
Children.
Cruelty. That's cruelty to
me. Sean, let's get your opinion about this. Do you have any fears, about dangers of Halloween treats? Did you have any concerns when your children were young? And did you partake in trick-or-treating when you was young? And did you have any fears about dangers of tampering with the candy?
Started with myself and then I worked down to my kids. I remember when I first started hearing about the dangers of people doing stuff to Halloween candy. That was the mid to late 80s when we started hearing about that. And from that point, I was a little nervous about going trick-or-treating. I hadn't gone since then. But once I had my children, I've taken them trick-or-treating once or twice, but I mean, I've gone to particular neighborhoods, not saying that one is better than the other, but I've taken them to different neighborhoods, and my and my ex at the time, she would go through all the candy to make sure. Like, one thing that we didn't take was and we always threw the fruit and everything like that. I just didn't trust that for whatever reason.
Brandy.
And as far as the candy, you always examined it to make sure it wasn't open or whatever the case may be. But as far as like a concern now, no, because like I said, all my kids are grown. I have one grandson, but his mother takes him to office parties, so that's about it.
Mhm. All right, Patsy, you want to jump right in there? Because Patsy, do you still work with children?
No, I don't. Like sometimes I'll go down and visit one of my neighbors that had a set of twins. But still, it's like when we were kids, it's like, of course, me and my sister brother, we went trick or treating. But my mother always told us, y'all, if we go out and we come back and she's not home, we're to check that candy, just because it had been on the news, talking about
You stay
watch
awake.
your candy, make sure nothing's open, and the fresh fruit and stuff that might have been wrapped up or whatever. Could have had what was on the news was like razor blades in them, It's like you throw that mess away and just check the candy. If it's open, throw it away. If they're not, just put it back in your sack or whatever. You hang going trick or treating and stuff. And a lot of times we ended up trading stuff because some of the stuff that we got were halfway decent,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like something that I didn't want, my sister or brother wanted, And anything that none of us wanted, my mother took.
Johnny Butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think half the candy went to my mom,
Yeah.
She snatched that shit up. It's like, okay.
You had y'all share candy. She taking the other half.
Exactly.
Gregory, you want to share with us any concerns based upon current date, and did you experience anything when you was growing up with like tampering of the candy, or did you ever receive any candy from your classmates that wasn't up to par?
I know I used to. You was talking to me?
Gregory, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I know in class, the teachers used to warn us before we went trick or treating, before the holiday came up. Because we used to have like this big thing in school too, where you put on your costume before you go trick or treating and stuff. So the teachers used to tell us, and then you used to see it on the news. You used to see it on the news the night before to be careful with the candy. And then that trend continued when I had my son. When I used to take him trick or treating, it used to be watch out for people that's doing evil things. The world's evil.
And the main thing that you had to worry about was the damn needle pricks into the candy. That's when they put in substance in your candy. If your candy was pricked, had a little prick in it, they done tamper with it.
Tanya, you want to speak on this?
Well, let's see. My when I was younger, Halloween trick or treating, I'll give you the Midwest version up to the East Coast version. The Midwest, we had 3 days of celebration for Halloween. It started with soap night, then penny night, and then Halloween.
So you got to break this down for us because we're not from the Midwest, and
so
I feel cheated.
So soap night is that you go out and you're writing on people's windows, they car windows, they house windows.
Oh, vandalism.
Yeah, so you basically that's soap night. And so everybody knew what that was. You know, they would come out the next day, they'd be pissed off, but they knew that, you know, that's what it was about. Penny night, you go door to door and you say penny night, and they give you pennies, they give you quarters, they give you dollars, you know, you get money.
So y'all was an early version of y'all solicited.
Well, hey, I guess you don't think about it like that, but I guess you can't say that. But Halloween, first of all, we always made our costumes because nobody got store-bought costumes. So we made our costumes. And then my aunts would take us trick-or-treating, and they would hold the bag. Basically, I had a pillowcase. So, and they would my aunts would send us up to the door twice because we're getting candy for them and candy for us. But we could not eat the fruit. We could not, anything that was open, we could not eat. We could not touch. We couldn't eat anything until we got home and they checked the bags. And so the most back then that we was concerned about was about the razors and nails and things being in the fruit. Moving forward to the East Coast, when my kids were young and we went trick-or-treating, most of the time we was at the Halloween party. And you know what party I'm talking about. So when we got to Cambridge and I started taking them trick-or-treating, we had to go with them because people would be snatching bags. You know, that was like,
that was the thing too.
They would be snatching bags, so you had to be out with your kids. You couldn't let them go out and trick or treat on their own. So wait, just so we clear, you know, are we referring to little angry children that didn't have costumes or pillowcases to get their own candy?
No,
we're talking about teenagers. We're talking about teenagers. We're talking about teenagers. And so my kids, you know, I would take them trick-or-treating. We went all over the place. Like in Cambridge, some places they have the candy sitting outside because the people wouldn't be home in the baskets. But you still don't let them touch nothing or eat nothing until you get home. But nowadays, what I'm most concerned about is what these families going out taking their kids trick-or-treating and all these heinous acts that's going on. You can't even know if you can trust the closed up candy now because a lot of people got these sealers to seal stuff back up. You don't know.
They can never seal it back the way that it was originally sealed. They can never do it the way it was originally sealed because that is done by a machine. Now they might can open it, but you're never going to seal it back the way that machine sealed it back up.
Yeah, but who really is going to be looking at the
inspecting that?
That's why you investigate. You know what a candy wrapper is supposed to look like, and if it comes off too easy, because you know the candy wrappers now is harder to open.
You're right
about that. Back in the days.
Right about that. You are right about that. But that's what concerns me
now. I try to eat it in the store.
Is the way this country is polarized at the moment. You know, and then you got people that's just out here doing things just to be doing things.
Just wicked. All right.
Just wicked. Just evil.
We're gonna dive more. We're gonna go in depth. We're gonna dive more into that in a moment. I just want to finish going around. Robert.
Trick-or-treating back in the days for me. As a kid, I did it a couple of times. Really didn't like it because my trust wasn't there for people anyway. We had Halloween parties. I enjoy those more. Finding razors or anything in my candy, no, I haven't experienced nothing like that. And the fruit, I was gonna eat it anyway. Too many people's hands was on it. What is fruit? when I go back to my children going trick or treating, they went with family members. So they always came back and they sorted through the candy. So that was another safety thing for them to do. But for the parties now, for them going trick or treating these days, is a chance you really don't want to kind of take, because I watched a couple of things earlier, and little Billy went trick or treating with his mom's, and he came back and he yelled out, "Mommy," after he ate some candy, "Mommy, I can't feel my left arm." And next thing you know, she said she looked down, looked like the left side of his face was drooping down. He done went and had a seizure. Where he ended up getting his hands on, he had
Allergic reaction.
candy tots. He died with tots, and it was meth. It was meth.
All right.
So it messed him up. There's some
cool
other there's some other candy that they're tricking you with. It's like it's sparkling, look like sugar crystals, and they wrap it back up, but it's really candy made out of bath salt, where it's putting parents in a zombie state of being. Imagine what it's doing to your child. So I watched that, and then I moved on to the other one where Dave said earlier, it looked like rainbow.
They look like Smart Tarts.
Yes.
Smarties.
So those be the fentanyl, and then the other was X. And your kids out here taking a chance of taking a lot of things, becoming junkies at a young age, and almost losing their lives.
That's their whole attempt anyway. It seems like that's their attempt.
So now,
cause harm to any kid that the parents didn't try to go through things and be before letting the kids get it. That's what they be looking for.
But mind you, Timmy, I told you the parents even ate the candy and was in a zombie state of being. So they're thinking that this little crystal sugar candy is candy, and they pop one in their mouth and eat it, and next thing you know, they're sitting there like, is the world over?
So let's be clear about this. So again, and this is not to big up any drug dealers, but drug dealers are in the business to make money. I don't see them giving away samples of like their product, just targeting children, like going out there. Their intentions is just to give it away to a child. Children can't pay for it. Their intentions is to get you addicted, so you keep coming back. So I can see them targeting like teenagers and young adults and older, but you really have to be an evil individual to be targeting children. I'm not saying that realistically this is not so, because we do know evil exists. So I understand that. So let's dive deeper into this now that Robbie has took us into it. Good segue. So,
but mind you, before you dive deep into it, you still got Kiana's to answer that question. So you got Bird that didn't answer it.
Bird answered earlier.
Okay, well, Kiana hasn't yet.
So Kiana, you probably didn't hear, but Kiana had to step away for a moment.
Oh, okay.
So Bird, you want to give us more insight before we move on?
You said Bird?
Yeah. Do you wanna give us more about because I know you commented earlier, but how was it for you when you was trick-or-treating, and did you partake in trick-or-treating with your children?
He was taking people's bags and stuff, throwing eggs at them.
Wait a minute.
I forgot that.
That sounds like something that him and Robert did together.
Let me tell you, first off, everybody gets to tell my story but me. However, let me share, it wasn't the most joyful occasion and holiday. Again, growing up in a very limited area, you was lucky to get home with your bag of candy or they'll snatch it. So I was snatched all the time. I was never a guy to snatch no one's bag of candy. I threw a rock in your bag and made it bust because everybody had paper bags. But I was one of the guys that throw eggs and, you know, do stupid stuff like that. But I wasn't taking kids' bags because I didn't like it when they took my bag. It was very disheartening. So I didn't be that guy to steal bags. My bags was always stolen or trying to run with it or hide it or whatever. The biggest thing on Halloween was the clown and the red and the black man. Everybody was scared of getting kidnapped, and now we got it, and now this other stupid black phone movie. They're just mimicking serial killers that started back in the day. So whatever.
Yeah, we
Bring
grew
it
up
on,
with
Jesus.
those movies.
But you know, I get it. I'm not a big fan. I did take my kids out trick or treating. I didn't want them to miss out on and enjoy, you know, a joyful, you know, day. But again, Sean was saying not all neighborhoods are, you know, not to stay bad. Everyone, well, there are some very bad neighborhoods that I didn't take my kids trick or treating in. I try to get my kids a good experience with people that had lights in their house and, you know, costumes at the door. You know, unfortunately, you have to take to neighborhoods because we just wasn't exposed to that when I was a kid. So I exposed my kids to a different light of the holiday and they had a good time.
Yeah,
I had a horrible Halloween. It was full of violence and snatch your bags and disappointments and half sucked on candy. And, you know, we ain't getting no good snacks and candies. You know, I'd be spending $200-300 on candy for these damn kids eating great chocolates on me. They was giving us sour balls and some bowl candy back in the day.
Now,
you got Krabby
Or them
Patties out
nasty
here.
ass candy corns.
Yup, they still got sometimes. Cut the shit.
Now,
You got a bowl of candy corns in your crib. You and Bob do. I know Bob's got candy canes at
I
home.
hate candy corn.
I don't have any right now, but I'll take
Kill your whole family. I did try some. Oh, hold on. What was it? Some Nerds candy corn. It was gross, but I tried. It wasn't candy corn. It was nerd candy. But candy corns kill yourself. That's all I got to say about Halloween.
So let me tell you guys this. So Bird talked about the candy corns and things like that. I think that people should stray from accepting that because especially if they're just grabbing a handful of candy and throwing in your bag.
They come prepackaged now, Dave. They come prepackaged.
You buy it for yourself, but I'm saying whoever buys bags of candy corn, you need to go seek therapy.
Because when we was growing up, they did not have them in them little packages. They just threw a handful of them into your bag.
Bowl. Right. Yeah, right.
Candy corn is the worst candy ever.
Yes, it is.
But
it's for kids.
You'll be disgusted.
So
I don't have anything wrong with candy corn. Just get my own individual bag and I'm straight.
And you'll eat it, right? Even balls.
Well, Robin, we was referring when it comes
balls
to the kids. The kids, they have the little snack size, not like you eating the whole family size pack by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about that. So the dangers of Halloween treats where you're concerned is getting
candy corns.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this rainbow fentanyl. So I don't know if you guys heard about it, but again, I said it's the latest craze. So apparently there's this new drug, fentanyl. It's rainbow fentanyl, and it resembles sweet tarts. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with sweet tarts, they come in a little, I think, wrapping, and they're stacked them, and they come in different colors. Now, that was what I'm being told. These rainbow fentanyl, it resembles. Now, again, guys, I said this earlier, so. For any wicked individuals that are out there, just tossing those in the candy bowl and letting children help themselves, you know, they got a special place in hell for you. But I think that with the dangers where Halloween treats are concerned, as we approach it, and you know, even after, there's a lot of candy, you know, throughout this time, and people leave the candy out. And unfortunately, as I said before, I believe that some of these recreational drug users are being irresponsible and they're leaving stuff like these because
No,
it's expensive. I would say I don't
I
know.
was
I've never
about to
bought
say,
them.
I don't think no drug addict is going to want to
Exactly.
leave
So I'm
a
assuming
sick
that they
person.
may have dropped it and the
You
kid
just got a
picked
sick
it up.
person out here doing it on purpose.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't think any
Drug addicts ain't
dealer
giving up
or
a free
drug
high
Truth
to
user.
is,
nobody.
it's your government.
Yeah,
Would you
no.
believe it was your own government and they're participating in a ritual on a pagan holiday?
Well, I
Oh,
wouldn't be surprised because
That's
as
another
I was telling
podcast.
Tanya earlier too, as I was doing the research on this topic, there's a lot of people out there disputing these findings and this myth because they're saying that the cartel in itself would not target children. This is
I don't
just
think
a
they
way
do.
people to
Big
drum
time
up
cartel don't.
ratings and stuff like that. But again, we live in a world where we know that people can be very vicious, very wicked. So I don't put anything past anybody. But again, I would say this: when
It's
you
not
are
the
drug dealing,
cartels that's doing it anyways. It's the local dealers that's doing it.
well, I don't believe that any local dealer is setting out to just give away kids where that's concerned. They're in the business to make money. They're not in the business to
Throw it
lose
away.
money, and they would be losing money by just handing them out. I mean, I know you might give somebody a pill.
Well, I don't know. I've seen some movies where the big kingpin drug dealer gives out stuff so people can get addicted.
Well, again, so let's talk about that. So let's talk.
Fentanyl is a stretcher. It stretches the drug. It stretches your fucking coke. It stretches your heroin so you can make double, triple money. That's
All
what
right.
fentanyl
That's not what it
is.
does.
So
Fentanyl is a painkiller. Fentanyl is a
No, but
painkiller.
they use it to
Fentanyl,
stretch
listen to hear what I'm saying to you. They are using fentanyl to make the drug stronger.
Longer, yes.
So in a typical bag of heroin, you can take a gram shot. You take a gram shot of some dope or some straight fentanyl, you're gonna immediately overdose within 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Because you're
the
overloaded
highest
with
form
an
of
opiate.
Opiate.
Fentanyl is an opiate.
Mm-hmm. So
it's not used to stretch anything. Baby laxative is used to stretch. So you shit when you use cocaine because it's cut with a baby laxative. And when you smoke it, you cook that out.
Let me ask you.
So they're not stretching it, they're enhancing the potency of any drug that they add fentanyl. They're adding fentanyl to marijuana now.
That's what the lady said. She said every street drug has fentanyl in it. Every street drug.
Absolutely.
It's the government. They got their hands on it.
So just so we clear, and we're keeping this into the subject. So during this holiday season, this Halloween season, who do you think is being targeted? Because if it's not the school age, like the elementary children, then I would guess that it's the teenagers, because those are the ones that are currently partaking in pill popping and things of that, and experimental use of drugs. And I'm not just talking about the street drugs. I'm talking about over the counter and drugs that you find in the medicine cabinet, Valium and other things like that. And let's go back, because Bird, you're a trickster. You're like low key the god. You like tricking people. So I remember when we was younger, you and Robbie used to have like this candy from the joke shop, and one of them you bite into it and it like ink or something comes out or whatever into your mouth, and then another one.
You remember that?
Yes, and then another one. I remember all the stuff that you guys did. Y'all was traumatizing. There was this gum that you ate,
and your mouth black,
and your mouth was on fire. So again, I think that kids can be cruel. So I wouldn't put it past a kid.
Well, that's a trick or treat, Uncle D. You missed it.
To get a hold to get a hold of some edibles and bring them to school and start passing them out like it's regular cookies,
I'm gonna do that at work.
brownies.
They just was treating the class. They was treating the whole class.
Yeah, but see, these are the dangers. These are the dangers of Halloween treats. These are the things that you have to be concerned about because you have some kids. Now, just recently, I read something where a 10-year-old kid got hold of his dad's edibles and brought him to school. Now, the kids that he gave it to end up overdosing. I mean, they didn't die, but they had to
Ain't
call.
no way they overdosed on marijuana.
You can't overdose
You don't listen. You don't
on
know
anything.
everyone's intake, how much they can handle.
You can overdose on anything. So again, now you got these kids mistakenly. Now what about the kid that mistakenly finds the candy? Who knows? Mom, dad might have been partaking in some Halloween treats, including the adult version of it, and they got so high they left them on the table. The kid just grabbed a bunch of candy, threw it in his bag, and unknowingly started passing it out. Now everybody's hot.
Hell
now,
yeah.
as parents, how do you explain that to the parents?
Sounds like a party to me.
When the school is telling them their children's in the hospital because they overdosed off of edibles. Now, what is that?
Be held accountable.
What is that liquid form? What is that that's in it? The TC,
that lean.
The thing that they put in it, like you can get it in the
liquid. THC. THC.
THC. So again, if those levels are
high, CBD.
If those levels are high,
they're not.
It could do
Nobody's
something.
buying liquid. Nobody's buying. That's like some white recreational use of liquid THC. I don't see someone bringing that.
What would they use that for? Wouldn't they use that to cook with?
Put it on their
No, just pretty much the marijuana, the marijuana, like a marijuana butter. It's gonna be high. It can be high in TCH or whatever. I don't smoke this stuff no more, so forgive me. It can be high levels. You can get the exotic. You can get the what they call Zaza or whatever. You get different batches of levels. Some is way more up there than others. You give it to a child. It tends to be more stronger when you cook this stuff, when you give it to them as an edible. So you don't know this person's level, and damn, let alone the children's that you're passing this off to thinking it's jokes. It's a serious thing. This kid's heart can stop, heart can speed up. Never know, he might want to get up and kill the classmates. You don't know what this drug can do to these children.
Exactly. That's why you have to be 21 to buy it, you know?
There's nothing to really joke about, because if your kid was 6 years old and Tommy came to school, gave the whole class from dang, and your kid died off of this or ran and jumped out the damn window, you'll be ready to sue the daggone school.
Didn't they have?
I'm gonna think it's not marijuana.
Hey, hold on. What was that? What was that stuff called that they were smoking and people were jumping out of windows?
That
the 2K. The 2K shit.
2K. Shut up. No, it's nothing like that.
I know. Did y'all say what it was?
What was it? It was some weird stuff that they were smoking, and then people started geeking out like,
bath soap. It was bath
no,
soap.
No, it wasn't. I forgot what they called it.
I forgot, yo. It's killing me, but I'll definitely get an answer. It's there.
Yep, I forgot.
But it was some weird. It was not wet. I'm telling you, it was some stupid name.
It's synthetic weed.
No,
it was something synthetic. Yes,
K2.
It was something synthetic.
It's called K2.
It was not K2. It was not bath salts. It was not none of that. It was not none of that. I mean, the dude was jumping out the windows. The dude had the window on the top of the window open. He jumped out of that.
Jumped out the top window, pulled it down, jumped out.
I forgot, but that was the way. Then they started smoking and drinking that lean.
Can we all talk at one time? Everybody's talking over one another.
So let me say this to you guys. So that's the edible situation. The fentanyl, the rainbow fentanyl. Again, this is something that's real serious because, as Bird said earlier, people, it's a painkiller. Some people use it as a painkiller. So you got these
the
children
hospitals. This is the next drug.
It is the government.
You get
Yes, Oxycontin.
you get
Was there
people to
other
get a hold of them, and they're sharing them with other people, because right now this is the end thing with
the government is
with the
sharing
young
it.
people. They're pill popping. It's the end thing. So what happens during this holiday season, where these children decide, well, we need to get right before a Halloween party, or I got some tricks and some treats for this party, and they're just handing them out like M&Ms. Or again, I can give you a handful of these things and tell you they're sweet tarts. Try one. I can present them to you like that because that's what they resemble.
Yeah, but you know, doing that, someone has to know, right? Someone has to know. Doing that, I give you a sweet tart that's fentanyl. You're gonna die. You take a fentanyl pill, you will overdose on a fentanyl. Depending, I don't even want to say
die from
whatever
touching or
milligrams. You
smelling
won't,
fentanyl.
because I've been given fentanyl in the hospital for pain. So it's certain levels to the game, but you don't know what level is in that bag of dope. You don't want to know what level is in that piece of candy.
Exactly.
So fentanyl is being prescribed, and it's being issued in the hospital setting. I don't even know how many people are actually getting a prescription of fentanyl. That fentanyl is getting shipped in here from another state, another country that's coming in here. China is the #1 exporter of fentanyl into the U.S. It's coming from China, a majority of it.
And this is why,
and it's hitting on the street level. So it's coming from China to here, to the cartels, and to the all the little, you know, gangs in the Chinese circuit, and then it's hitting our street.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and you can take fentanyl, but certain levels of that fentanyl and heroin will kill you.
Exactly. You know, look at Mac Miller. He died from fentanyl. Shock G from fentanyl. DMX, fentanyl.
So again,
all them dudes died from fentanyl.
If wait a minute.
Oh, Prince,
Patsy,
Michael Jackson, they're all dying from these
Painkillers,
these opiates.
Prince too, he died from fentanyl.
Go ahead, Patsy.
Yeah, but fentanyl, if you look at fentanyl comes in patches, right? What people are doing is scraping off the medication, because really they could release this into your body on a timing thing. So if you straight up take that fentanyl and just like through your mouth, you're getting way too much fentanyl at one time.
Can I say this? These ladies, they're putting napkins on people's cars right now, and they're taking the napkins off the car, and these people are overdosing off of fentanyl by just touching it.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Now, if you have devils and demons like that are out here doing it, this is why I don't put it past them to do something to the children's it's the night of the dead. Is supposedly a celebration
Devil's
of the
night.
dead, and all that's
witches and ghosts and goblins and ghouls, and this is the night of the devil. So you should expect evil to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you look
a lot of people don't even celebrate Halloween because of that.
You Google it. Halloween is originally called All Hallows Eve.
Yes.
So it's like really like it's a Wiccan holiday, pagan. So it's really like more Wicca. And then they're just like sometimes with like ghosts and whatever like of the dead.
So let me tell you guys. So if those drugs are so harmful for adults, you know, imagine what it will do to a little kid. Again, that's messed up. I mean, again, the worst case scenarios, these teens having a party and everybody is indulging in these rainbow fentanyl thinking that it's sweet tarts or whatever, or they're just trying them because it's what they do. They experiment to see how it's going to feel. And now you got a bunch of kids overdosing off of something they should have never had their hands on in the first place.
Yep.
Okay.
Most likely the person who introduces be the one that's going to take that fall.
Now, let's talk about the other things that the little kids can get their hands on thinking that it's candy. Now, we got Sudafed, and some other things that color coded and they resemble M&Ms and Skittles and
codeine,
like that.
cough syrup with codeine they're drinking.
You got what they call it, like capsules that resemble Good and Plenty. You got NyQuil. You got NyQuil capsules that resemble Mike and Ike's hot tamales, things of that nature. And then again, what we said about the edibles in the form of a gummy, you can get those in different flavors. You can get them in lemon. You can get them in like orange. They look like orange slices or whatever, gummies. That's what they now to a kid, that's what they're thinking they are. And you got some that I think come in gumdrops. So it's a number of things that these children can mistake for candy. And again, they can overdose off of them. Even with the antacids, you got children mistakenly overdosing off of those because they think it's candy. Because again, you got people that are irresponsible and they're putting these things or leaving these things in the child's reach. Children are mischievous. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They get into trouble. They get into trouble. So you might think that they're not paying attention, but children always pay attention. They're like sponges. They absorb everything that's being said and everything around them. So you really have to be more mindful when we're doing so-called adult things. You know, so that's something to keep in mind. Again, I can see how accidents happen, but again, how are you going to explain that to a parent that lost their child due to your negligence? Or it's going to be your negligence all along, because even if the kid brought these things to school to share, it's your negligence as the parent that they got a hold of it. So Sean, how would you deal with a situation? All right, so you said all your children are grown. So let's go back in the days. Had you got a phone call from the school saying that what username that Robert said, Tommy brought edibles to school and shared it with your child, and now your child is in the emergency room. How would you feel about that? How would you deal with that?
I would definitely be devastated. And honestly, that I'm being wrong, I don't know how I would deal with it because I haven't experienced that, because I don't know what my reaction would be. Would I be in the mindset to deal with it logically or emotionally? Mm-hmm. And emotionally, if we're going back in the day, emotionally, I'd be ready to hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. But now, I guess my concern would be more about, the well-being of my child. Mm-hmm. And once that's done, then I'll try to get down to the bottom of it, of trying to figure out, like, how did this happen? Like, where did the ball drop? Mm-hmm.
Okay, good answer. Tanya, I know you have some concerns. You said you had a conversation with your grandson about this.
Yeah.
You want to share?
About what, the conversation?
Yeah, because it pertains to the same, similar, about.
When I saw the report on CNN, I had a conversation with him about going to school, knowing that he's in high school now and knowing how peer pressure can be. Mm-hmm. and knowing how you want to be with the in crowd and everything, you might feel pressed to do things, but I was telling him that it could come from someone that he think he can trust, that he knows. It can even come from a family member that don't even know what they got. You know what I mean? That's another team, because he goes to school with his cousin. He got friends and things that you don't know what's in their household. You don't know what's going on that side, or what knowledge they may have. They may have something that they don't even know they have, and they think it's okay and pass it on to the next person. So you don't even take it from the person you think you know, or you think you can trust, because you just gotta be, you just don't take something from somebody just because they say, "Oh, this is candy."
You have to be diligent about how you move and go about receiving things from people.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna keep it 100, because I participate in gummies because it helps with the pain that I go through from my illness. I'm not sick. My situation.
Yep, medicinal.
Yeah, medicinal. That's right. But I keep my stuff out of reach because my granddaughter comes over here, and all she thinks about is candy. If she sees anything that might look like candy, she thinks she's gonna be like sneaking to go in it or asking for it, and so I put everything away.
See,
I even put it all the way in the back of my cabinet, because she comes in here fishing through my cabinets and things, I gotta put it way out of reach.
So that's a good thing. So that age, teenage, how do we protect our children? How do we give them the necessary, the information, the tools to navigate through what's going on out there, not just during the Halloween season, but after, because this is a real thing. Josie, how do you prepare your child or the youth, school age, and young, that are going to school and they might be introduced to these things, and you don't want them to be introduced to it, but it's just something that's going on in the world? How do you make your children more mindful of what to do in case of this?
Well, I don't know if we're just speaking in general or around.
Generally speaking.
So I guess it starts at home. You have to make sure that the children at some point understand good and bad. And I feel as if raising any child, it's going to come as they grow. So, on a level of what they understand, because you can't be talking to children about something that they don't understand, because then it's just going in one ear and out the other.
That's right.
Continue to try to share, stories with them, sometimes your personal experiences with them, then maybe they'll catch on. But I truly believe that no matter what you instill in a person or try to build in a person, they're still gonna take their own path. So it's just about you hoping and praying that what you've done is
they
enough.
paid attention.
So exactly. And I don't want to get away from the subject, but that's how I feel to do with the subject. It's like you try, you give your all, but it's, do they understand? Do they comprehend? But I think that it starts in the home. It doesn't start outside of the home. However, sometimes if you do not start it in the home, they will begin to learn about it outside of the home.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to start there.
Can I ask a question? Because I know that when I was growing up in school, we had we talked about drugs in a health class, kind of. So that was part of the whole little package in health. Do they teach that in these schools today?
Good question. And if they do, should this comparison drugs that are similar in appearance to candy, should this become a part of the curriculum
They
where
did
these
that for
children are
my
able to
generation.
identify these things? Because I think that would be helpful, especially before the Halloween. You know what? Because let's not just do Halloween, because we got all type of candy all through the year. Because so right after Halloween, you know, you got Christmas and there's Christmas candy and stuff. So you got people that want to be wicked. They don't just take days off. Oh, it's a holiday. We ain't gonna be wicked today. Wicked works.
But they know that's different, Dean. Halloween, you got different people coming to your door. See, at Christmas candy, people are ordering that from a factory or different businesses or whatever.
I get that.
That's where that Christmas candy coming from. But the Halloween, people are coming to your door, ringing your door, there, trick or treat, you know. So of course they might skip that, you know, that kid, those kids, and these kids. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give this back to these kids here.
Exactly.
You know?
So you gotta. That's what I'm talking about. The wicked person. But what I was referring to is because there's so many different type of candies that resemble drugs today and are associated with certain holidays. It might be conducive and beneficial if you take these comparisons of the two and somehow design a curriculum where it makes them more identifiable to the child. So they have a level of discernment, you know, where they can pick out, well, this is this and this is that. Because again, what I'm being told is the rainbow fentanyl looks just like sweet tarts. So again, how do you distinguish which is which? So I feel like that, again, like Josie said, you have to start with a conversation, and it does start at home, because either you give your children the knowledge that they require and going to need to navigate throughout the world and their neighborhoods and stuff. If you don't give it to them, they're going to get it from their peers, and you don't want that. Because trust me when I tell you, there's going to be two conversations. There's going to be the one they get from their peers and the one that you choose to give to them. So you might as well go and have a conversation with them regardless, because they're going to get this, they're going to be exposed to this in the community when they navigate, be it school or just hanging out, going to the store, anything. This is what they're going to come across. So again, Bert, how would you handle a situation like this, having a conversation with a young person about, you know, the evils of the world pertaining to, you know, people passing off drugs as candy?
I don't know if I am a true believer of a person capable of doing that. Not saying it doesn't, but just the whole need for the drug wouldn't seem a need to give it away and get people hurt. It's something that may have happened in the past, but again, I'm not a true person that could say I've seen it or even heard it that it's happening. So I don't see many people giving it away. I'm not saying it can't, but I'm just saying I'm not a visionary to see that.
But because the risk
much greater now too, though, right? You running the risk of, if you discover that you're gonna be looking at some real hard time.
But wait, let's go back to the conversation with the kid. But because we're discussing this today, we know this exists. How would you have this conversation with your child or young people around you about what's going on and what they need to do to protect themselves?
I mean, I'm all for that. I'd be the person to have that conversation, let alone you may not even be going out trick or treating now if I had a choice now. You know, I keep it home and keep it in the family and make sure everybody had a good time the right way in the house. And again, for those that decide to indulge and take the drugs and give them to your kids at school and friends, then, you know, that's like Josie said, that starts at home. That's an irresponsible adult who failed to protect his child and his family from that. So what you do is your business, but when it comes to the point where it affects your family and lifestyle, it becomes a problem. And that person actually obviously has a problem that he's not ready to deal with if you're that irresponsible.
Wait,
So
but
who
the
am I
other
to judge?
thing, go ahead, Bird.
I'm just saying, who am I to judge what anybody does in their life as entertainment or indulges in whatever? But again, there's levels to this where, you know, your family shouldn't even be a part of that to get an edible or for you to be, if you're at that high grade level of edible exposure, then you should know better than to have that stuff around your family like that.
That's right.
So hopefully you oblige by certain rules of the game. And if you don't, you deserve what comes out of it. If you lose your children, then you don't deserve your children if you try to put them in harm's way. So I'm good with making sure I educate my children or even keep them from that situation.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that during this current climate, it's not just about worrying about candy. You know, them getting their hands on the wrong. I know we're talking about candy, the treats and the fentanyl and the drugs and stuff that look like candy, but you got to be worrying about these shooters out here too.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that on a later date because we got to come back to that conversation. I know we talked about that previously, but we're gonna come back and have a more in-depth conversation.
Can I say this,
that.
Uncle D? I think we need to give the Boston public schools some credit because they definitely do teach you about I don't know. It was a big thing with dots when I was coming up. I don't know if y'all remember that candy. It had
The
all
dots
different.
on the paper.
They used to tell you to watch out for acid or something that looked exactly like that. And then the good and plenty candy, they used to tell us to watch out for that too because it used to be some type of pill form. So I would want to give them credit because they definitely teach your kids about candy before Halloween. But I think it's ironic that they also teach you not to take candy from strangers, but then they have a whole holiday dedicated for you to go and get candy from strangers.
That's dropping knowledge. That is dropping knowledge. But what'd you expect? It's a holiday that doesn't, you know, you're not really like, it's not like a holy holiday. You know, I mean, anything, you know, their intentions, it could have been good, but anything that can be used for good can also be used for bad too. And again, we have individuals that are referred to as predators. What do predators do? They prey on the weak and the unknowing and the young. That's what they do. Now, again, those are a lot of different situations, but again, so Gregory will take that into consideration. It's good that you brought that up. The public schools are doing that. And if the public schools are doing that, shout out to the public schools. And those that are not doing it, then y'all need to follow suit and y'all need to implement this into your curriculum because it's something that is becoming a real issue and it's not going away. You know, this will prevent a lot of heartache that some of these parents are experiencing, losing their children due to this nonsense. And that's what it is. It's nonsense. But again, like if you guys can see, this shirt says the uncut truth according to today's youth. So again, they're gonna have a different opinion about the conversations that we're having. So it's very important to make them a part of the conversation. So when Josie says it starts at home, it definitely does. And nobody, no adult, should be above having a conversation with the young about what's going on in this world because you too will probably learn something from your conversation with them because they are more mindful about some things more than we give them credit for. I mean, my children are young adults, but even when I saw this report, I got right on phone. I text my daughters because, you know, that's their communication of choice. You know, all these young people, they rather you to text them than have a conversation. But, you know, we talked about this earlier. You communicate the way you can. You get the message across as long as you reach them. And that was my point. And in the text, I told my children, I know you're grown. That is why I'm having an adult conversation about this situation with you. Because the young people are, even the ones that are 10 years and younger, they think they're adults. They think they're grown. Oh, I'm not a little baby. I'm not a little kid. I know what's going on. So again,
no, I'm 16.
Yep. So sometimes you have to have these adult conversations with these young people because it benefits them. Because again, I say this, social media, everything that's going on in the world, they're getting they're learning about this sometimes even before you learn about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it would behoove you to have conversations with your children. I mean, I'm not one.
You ask them what do they know about
exactly
drugs. That's how you approach it. What do you know about such and such? You know, and that's how you get them to open up and have conversations.
I think that at this point in the game, you know, these so-called taboo subjects are not so taboo anymore because, again, if your children are not having these conversations with you, they're having these conversations with other people, be it their peers, and sometimes other adults that don't have enough wherewithal to even be open up their mouth.
They don't have your kids
they're not
that's
responsible
interested.
enough to be having these conversations with
you. Exactly.
Yeah, can I say something that's slightly off topic, but it relates to this?
Go ahead.
Like, I was downstairs with my neighbor that has the twins. And, like, they had bought some adult alcoholic beverages. And the twins actually say, oh, we're not drinking that because that's an adult drink. And that tastes nasty. So they knew the difference between alcohol and juices. They knew. They were like, I think they either just turned 5 or 6. I forget which birthday. But kids know. They'll even if they're not outspoken, but these twins are really outspoken. So they may know, like, those were adult drinks. So they know, a lot of times they know between the difference between candy and drugs and whatnot, you know, so they, you know, they may not always say, but you got some outspoken kids that will tell you the difference between the actual candy that you buy at the store or the adult candy that has either fentanyl or just when you buy it from the adult
the dispensary.
Yeah, the dispensary. Yeah, I had a hard time thinking about the word that I really wanted, but yeah, they know the difference.
Okay, so with that being said, Mr. Brimage, are you still with us?
Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So
let me share a story. Lady said Halloween was a special time for her children. They used to have Halloween parties, but the town she lived in didn't want to have a Halloween party. So she came with an idea of hers to bring it to all the other parents. She wanted to be a host of a candy in a trunk party. So that means if you have a car, everyone pulls up at this location, you pop your trunk, you let the kids come down, you know, the line of cars, and they trick or treat out your trunk of your car. So it was 40 cars that showed up, a good outcome. She said the only thing that went wrong, and she considered it to be an accident, she was the host. She took her son's candy home, and she opened up the bag and she found Oxycontin and a Xanny in it. She said, now this was in a sandwich by Ziploc thing. She said she knows accidents happen. This happened to probably be in the lady or the man's pocket and might have found out while they was getting candy out the trunk. She said because she also keeps her Motrin, a couple of Motrin every day in a sandwich bag in her pocket, and sometime it fell out her pocket. So she said, you know, she was worrying about did any other kids have, but then she said no other kids got nothing down in her thing. So she said, how do they target one kid and what type of kid? She said, so that's when she started thinking it was a legitimate accident, and everybody reached out and they want to do it again. Said they're doing it again this year.
So again,
that could be accident. Yeah, that incident.
And to go back to, not to cut you off, to go back to the other drug like marijuana, if they was to take a chance and bake this up and give it to your kids in school, they will be jumping out the windows. It was called salvia.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. So again, congratulations to Robbie.
You say that,
you did your research. You did your research before the show, as I expect everybody to do, so you could be mindful about the topic, so we can all speak intelligently about it. I saw that same video. Well, I read that same video. I read that same.
What I wanted to say is that our generation, we don't give the kids their generation more credit for knowing things, because they got handheld access to information. You understand? So they know a lot of things that we might think they don't know about.
Yeah, that's true, because when I was talking to my grandson about it, he told me they had discussed it at school.
Mm-hmm. See, that again, that supports what we were saying about having a conversation with them. But shameless plug.
Hey,
time.
Uncle D, we got Auntie Maria and Kiana back too.
Kiana and Maria, feel free to jump in anytime. But before we do that, Mr. Brimage, you have a shirt that is entitled "In Mine I Trust." You want to tell people about it and where you can find it?
Yeah, the shirt is labeled "In Mine I Trust." That means the people in my circle and my family members that's close to my heart, I trust within them. You can find this shirt as usual in our online store called emporiumplus.org, where you will find the latest fashions from S.A.M, Still a Man, SOS Support Our Sisters, Envy Forever, Adaptive Perish, Ladies First, and Adaptive Perish.
Okay, so Kiana and Maria, let me get you guys into this real quick. Duchess, you have any concerns about I know your son is grown, but when he was younger, did you take him out trick and treating, and was you concerned about anybody tampering with the treats? And are you concerned about today's children and trick or treating?
So when he was younger, I went by the same rules that we had. You couldn't eat any candy without me checking it. So I checked all his candy. Luckily for me, I had older neighbors around us who would give him like bags of candy. Like he didn't even really have to go trick or treat, and they would just tell him to come over. He come home with like 3 or 4 bags from the older women around us. But I still took him trick or treating in our area, and he was never allowed to eat anything without me checking. And he's picky, so he only likes certain things. So it wasn't really a matter of him wanting to eat anything before I checked it. Am I concerned about kids now? Of course, because now they have drugs that look like candy, and I don't know what other parents' guidance is. Like, again, he knew that he could never touch any of that candy without me looking through it. before he even had it. And we had candy here that would be passed out. So when he became a teenager, also, he'd rather stay home and just pass out candy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what I would do in this day and age. Same rule. You don't touch it unless I look through it. And if it looks weird, it don't look like the packaging is right or the writing is wrong, it's trash.
And how would you approach a conversation regarding this rainbow fentanyl and people mistakenly passing off edibles and I'm gonna say like prescribed drugs as well for something to try or for a joke of sorts.
A joke? That's a joke? I don't know what kind of jokes people are playing.
Trick. You mean a trick?
Trick?
As a trick. Yeah.
Oh, trick. If I find you give my kid something or whatever, I'm coming to your house and punch you in your face. But therefore, I don't understand why people would give it as a trick, want to trick people into taking stuff that they're not comfortable in. You got enough people who want to take stuff on their own without you having to trick somebody into getting it. So I don't understand that, and I don't condone it. And I would hope that people who I don't know, I would hope that you surround yourself with people who aren't trying to be your downfall.
Ooh,
right. Now, Kiana, let me ask you a question. When you talked about your son going to get candy from the elderly people that in your neighborhood, now didn't you feel like you felt more like these are elderly people. I have no reason to think that they would try to, harm my kid.
Of course. I mean, and of course, they would give him stuff that he didn't like. And I'd be like, well, take it to your friend or, accept it and say thank you. And then we could, throw it out if you're not really going to want it or you don't have a friend who's going to give it to you. But my neighbors, they would give me like, oh, we went to the store. We have extra flour here. We grew too many tomatoes in our backyard here. So they were giving stuff away throughout the year. They weren't just doing it at Halloween, but they knew because he was like the only kid on our end of the street, they wanted to do something. And of course, I never asked. I never, it wasn't like a mandate or whatever. And, I know most of them are probably on I don't say fixed income, but a fixed income. But I taught him, you say thank you, you accept it. But if you don't want it, you don't be rude to these, people in their face. You say, okay, thank you. And we'll discard it when you get home if you don't really want it or it's not something that you want. But if it's like, and again, some of it wasn't even candy. Some of it was like coloring books or books to read or things like that. So again, you just say thank you, you accept the gift. But if you don't want it, you will never be rude to someone in their face. You just take it and accept it. We'll get rid of it. We can donate the books to kids or whatever. So
all right. Patty, Maria, you with us?
Yeah.
So same thing. When you was growing up, when your child was a little boy, and you have grandchildren and godchildren. So how do you feel about the dangers of Halloween treats? And we were discussing in the form of like children mistakenly getting hold of this new rainbow fentanyl that looks like sweet tarts, children mistakenly eating edible gummies and chocolate bars and brownies and things of that nature. And in some situations, as Timmy said,
I feel like it's the parent's responsibility. The same way when I was growing up, it was my mother. She was responsible. When we came in the house, she checked our candy, made sure even if it was candy that was separately individual, we probably had to throw that out or whatever, because like a Tootsie Roll, didn't know if that was unrolled and then roll back up. So
yeah,
it's about the parent being responsible, making sure your kids do not have anything like that in their presence. Either with you in your own household, if you got gummies or weed brownies and stuff like that, you got to make sure that's not in their reach, because kids are going to be kids and they see sweets and candy, they're going to eat it.
mm-hmm.
All right. So, guys, we are approaching the end of our show. So, real quick, I just want to, get a quick closing statement from each person. And it pertains to, how do you feel about individuals that purposely set out to harm children during this time where it's supposed to be a joyous time where they can enjoy a night of getting a whole bunch of candy? Kiana, we'll go to you first. Duchess, turn your mic on.
Mic on.
Sorry. I don't understand people who want to harm children, but like, in this world, there are evil people who do malicious things for their own self-pleasures. I don't understand it. I don't condone it, of course. And I again, my mind can't even think to why you would want to give a kid drugs or I don't know, stuff that isn't candy or things like that. And then you also have to watch out for people who just, some people give out a vibe that is not great. Mm-hmm. So you don't even want their candy. Take it. Right. Oh, I remember that. I'll go we'll be walking and I'll take that thing right out that bag and that'll be trash on the ground or in my pocket.
And
so I
don't put it with the rest of the candy. I'm going to put it in my pocket.
I'm putting it in my pocket so it can be separate. Again, luckily I lived and went to neighborhoods that were good neighborhoods. And back when we were kids, again, we heard about the razor blades and stuff. And we was never allowed to eat like fruit or other things. So I don't understand it. I don't condone it. I can't even wrap my head around why that would be your intent. So I'm so glad my kid is not in this day and age. Because I probably would be running up in people's houses left and right, kicking asses. So I don't know what I would do.
Okay.
So God bless y'all.
Sean.
Yes, sir.
So same question. Your closing remarks regarding people that set out to harm the children's Halloween treats.
All I'm going to do is piggyback on Sister Key's last statement. That's it.
The one about running up in people's houses.
Listen, that's it.
All right. I know I'm getting some of y'all for Christmas, some anger management classes.
I love it, Sean. I love it.
Josie, same question.
What's the question?
Same question. Closing remarks rather. How do you feel about people who purposely set out to harm children's Halloween treats?
You should probably lock them up, because I really don't see any real interest in anyone harming someone's child. So I don't know.
Well, that's not a fair game. You said it.
Well, then that's going to be my closing statement. Okay. I think you should lock them up.
Mr. Lacey.
I think you should go to the source, the government. My closing statement.
Okay. Patty, Maria?
Yeah, I it's just a sick thing. I wouldn't know why would somebody want to do that. And yeah, you deserve to be locked up. But I also believe there's no such thing as a good neighborhood because you got sick people everywhere. It could be right in the ghetto. It could be in the suburbs. It could be coming right out of somebody's mansion.
That's eye opener. Timmy?
Yeah, I think that's just cruelty. And a person like that should be in front of a firing squad. Jail's too good for him. He needs to be under for you even trying to cause harm to a kid that has no knowledge of and ain't even lived his life. So you trying to ruin that kid's life. So you should be in front of firing squad. Jail's too good for you.
Okay. Patsy?
I got to say, if you're gonna be that evil towards kids, you need to close your door and keep it shut. Shut off all your lights. Shut off your close the window shades. Whatever you got to do to deter somebody from coming to your door, because we were all taught that if someone don't have their lights on, don't even approach the porch. So shut your lights and shut your shades. Don't even have the porch light on.
I like
That's my clue into that.
Okay. Robert. Grimmage, gotta turn your mic on.
All right. I won't speak on the lost souls because we really can't prevent them from going out there playing in the devil's playground. I will say this. I will say this over all our children. May God come and protect all of their backsides from such evilness. Keep them drenched in Jesus' blood, so their wellness and their well-being will be protected on that Halloween day.
Okay, amen. Ms. Tanya?
My closing statement is, remember that Jesus said, suffer not the little children, meaning trouble not the children, cause them no trouble. And in my own words, that if you do, there's a special place in hell for you.
Ooh, I like and it rhymes. I'm telling we some praying people on this panel. Amen. Okay. Fred, you gonna take us home?
I don't know if I'm ready to take nobody home, but I'm saying if you're that malicious to hurt children, do yourself and do everybody a favor and kill yourself.
Ooh,
and I'm sorry, you just don't deserve life. You don't deserve anything if anyone is that malicious to hurt a child. It ain't even a place in hell for you. There's a place past there that you don't even belong. And I pray that, nobody gets hurt by the hand of a sick person like that.
Well,
I want my beads. Let me get on camera with no shirt on. Who's going to send me my Jerry beads? You guys ready for this shit? Send you guys off.
Fred's going into business. He's going into business for himself. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Still a Man podcast. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. God bless you all, and God bless the children.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.